I'm the director of Trash Free Maryland. We're out on the bay again, day 6 of the Chesapeake Bay Trash Trawl. Right now we are off of Poplar Island. It's actually where they put the dredge spoils from Baltimore Harbor. We are finishing up our 4th sample of the day. This one is a long education sample of jars that we're going to be using to show off to people about what we found. Here's an example of a jar we got earlier today. This is from off of the mouth of the Weston Road River in Anne Arundel County. This one is pretty plastic dense. We got a lot of grasses in it, and the grasses catch a lot of plastic. So we have Anand Pandian, I'll let him say it himself, on board today. He's an anthropology professor at Johns Hopkins University, and I was really interested in the fact that he's doing a class on plastics in the anthropology department. So I wanted to ask him to talk a little bit about what his class is and what they are, what they're learning about this summer or this semester. So I'm gonna...
Hi there, everyone. So my name is Anand Pandian. I am a professor of anthropology at Johns Hopkins University, and I'm really grateful to Julie for the chance to be part of this expedition here today. As anthropologists, we wander all over the world in various kinds of field environments, but I have to say I never imagined being in this one before, and it's been really kind of marvelous and fascinating day. As Julie mentioned, I am teaching a class this fall that's simply called plastic. It's not plastic engineering, it's not polymer science. It's a class in anthropology trying to think about the cultural life of plastic materials in contemporary societies such as ours. Plastics are ubiquitous materials in modern life. It's impossible to get away from them, as our friends, the activists of the oceans, have shown us. But they're much more than materials. They're also metaphors, they're symbols. They carry ideas not only about what we ought to want in our lives, the things that we want our lives to contain, like water at hand, or sort of shiny, pretty things that we like to hang on to or play with in the case of children, such as mine. They also stand for certain ideas, certain aspirations. The idea of plastic is always tied up with ideas of plasticity, with the malleability of human nature. You go back a few decades to the invention of some of the substances that we take for granted these days, and the advertisements, the promotional materials are always about the kinds of transformations that these things not only depend upon to be synthesized, but will also affect in the lives of those who use them. So this is a class that is meant to think about plastic as both material and metaphor, to think about the cultural significance of both plastic artifacts and plasticity or malleability as an idea that we all live with today. It is obviously the case that we need to find ways of rejigging our lives so that we're not generating so much waste, that we're not producing so much of these things that far outlive us, albeit as fragments. And that kind of necessary transformation is something that will demand a certain kind of plasticity on our part. And what I'm hoping to do in this particular class is to look at the history of plastic manufacturing, of invention, the various ways that people have taken up plastics in their lives, plastic surgery, plastic consumer artifacts, things like bottles, Plastic Man, the comic book, various kinds of cultural artifacts that play on the material properties of plastic, but using those things as a way of opening up certain questions about what it takes to change human behavior in the more radical, fundamental ways that seem to be necessary if we're to find a more livable way of relating ourselves to the world that we share.
What made you want to come out on the trash trawl?
I couldn't give up the chance of doing it. I've been reading a lot about the gyres and the oceans, about various efforts to try to document how plastics have migrated to such distant places, and it's always seemed kind of abstract and foreboding. I've never been very far from shore in a boat, but when I found out that the ever right here in the Chesapeake, which is where I live as well. The opportunity was too good to resist. I called her up as soon as I found out about it, and thankfully convinced her I had something worth sharing in by way of conversation around plastics. I'm working on a book right now in which I hope to talk about some of these themes, and I have no doubt that what happens today will wind up in some of what I write.
Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen? What have we been doing?
Well, we've been cruising out into the middle of the Chesapeake Bay. It's a beautiful day. We've even been able to sail a bit. It's fascinating because the scale is almost impossibly large to comprehend. The water contains so many billions and billions and billions of gallons of water, and ever so much stuff inside that water, and then we take a sample and there's hardly anything to see at first. You think that there isn't really that much plastic at all, but then as you begin to imagine, well, we've only sampled a small amount, you begin to extrapolate outward and imagine what that small amount multiplied so many times over might actually amount to. It begins to get really kind of fearsome, especially when you think about the fact that this stuff is going to kick around from body to body for untold numbers of generations of animal life in the waters. In some ways, it's analogous to the situation that we find on land as users of plastic, where we make very small, very ephemeral choices and decisions on the fly without very much access to what that might all amount to, and yet we know at a very abstract level that these choices that we're making, that we're living with, do impact the world that we live on in quite profound ways. So I suppose one really important value to doing this kind of thing is giving those of us who are lucky enough to participate, as well as those of you who are participating virtually through this interface, the capacity to actually scale up your own imagination and try to think about how tiny fragments, such as the ones that we're collecting today, might actually scale up to problems of global and fearsome proportions, just as tiny decisions and changes that we can make in our own lives might actually amount to something meaningful with regard to the problems that we're wrestling with.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We're about to pull this trawl out of the water and pack the sample, but if you'd like more information about this project, definitely check out our website at trashfreemaryland.org. We're also on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, all at trashfreemd. Again, that's trashfreemaryland.org, and handle is trashfreemd. We're hoping to pass some good policies to reduce plastic pollution in the state and in the whole region in the next couple of years based on the research that we find out here. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you online.